Motorbike taxis are the main mode of transport in Rwanda's capital, Kigali. They're the best way to get around, and today I'm riding around on one to find out more about the city. Rwanda aims to become the Singapore of Africa, a modern, safe, clean and most of all prosperous state. That's the idea behind Vision 2020, an ambitious development plan from the country's president, Paul Kagame. As a modern capital, Kigali is to be completely rebuilt. Every piece of land has been given a specific building requirement. But is this a plan that can work? In the city centre, I get a look at the early results. It's clean here, with no rubbish on the streets like in other cities, and no sign of street vendors. Rwandan people are proud of their capital, and the plans could change their lives. The goal is to transform the country from its agrarian roots into a knowledge-based society. In the old town, though, the dream of modern Kigali is nowhere to be seen. I'd like to know what the traders here think of the government's grand plans, because soon enough they'll be affected too, their stores torn down. But hardly anyone wants to speak to me about it, and even those that do would rather talk about their day-to-day business problems.
The business is going well, but not much, because sometimes can get a customer. It depends on the period. Now this period we are now, the customers are not many.
I can't see that problem being solved by new buildings. They'll create more room and improve standards in the area, but they'll also push up rent costs. I wonder whether the traders here will be able to afford that. Finally, textile merchant Chris Dusabumuremyi gives me some insight into the situation. He's another who says he doesn't have enough customers. Many can't afford his exclusive fabrics. But he's taking a pragmatic view. Of course it will be expensive, he says, but it won't be too expensive. We'll be coming out of bad buildings and going into very good modern ones, which will be good for us. Also, we don't have any choice in the matter. It's a government plan, and it will be good. It seems strange that Chris accepts this so readily and believes so strongly that the government will address all the issues. Nobody here criticises the plans. It all smacks of fear of the authorities. A few streets away, I get a glimpse of the plans in action. The traders who had businesses here had to leave. They tell me how it happened. Shortly after being notified, they found their doors padlocked shut by officials, investors or property owners. In the modern vision of Kigali, there's no place for these people who have plied their trade here for years. I've got an appointment with Lilian Mupende, the woman responsible for the plans. I want to find out what the project means for the people. Here, in one of the most modern high-rises in the city, I see how the new Kigali is being planned in minute detail. Entire districts have already been razed and rebuilt. I ask whether they could have just been renovated.
A central business district has a certain character and a certain fabric, and therefore the kind of development that is there has to comply with the standard and quality that is required. However, for people whom we have relocated, I'll give the example of that site, people relocated to Batsinda. Batsinda is not outside the periphery of the city, and they were coming from an informal settlement where they did not have the basic amenities that they needed to be able to live properly, and were offered an alternative that gave them a better environment to live in.
An investor lays out his plans. I notice how strict the process is. There are not only safety regulations to deal with, but also specific instructions on the design of the building. Again, they accept this without a word of objection.
The people of Rwanda are not people who are made to oppose. All we have to do with the public is to educate them on the advantages that come with whatever development we are doing. And as is always, they are always supportive to the government's initiatives. They're always a part of the government's initiatives.
The plans are splashed across giant posters, but they're extremely ambitious. Taking into account the huge poverty that affects Rwanda, it's difficult to imagine that everything will be completed as quickly as President Kagame has envisaged. He's a popular figure here, associated with Rwanda's stabilization and the country's economic upswing. His critics accuse him of building a system that only has a facade of democracy, but his vision of prosperity for all appears to have met with broad approval. However, not everything's going as planned. I'm not allowed to film in the most upmarket shopping centre. 2 years after it opened, some shops still haven't been rented out. There are few customers and the cinema's still closed. And something else stands out. I see more and more empty building sites. I've heard that many investors are shying away from Kigali, its strict building specifications leading to high costs. Could Rwanda be heading back to an agrarian society? I leave the freshly tarmacked main streets and step into another world. Outside the city centre, there's still extreme poverty. There's no running water here, and the electricity supply comes and goes. Many houses are built out of mud. Sewage runs through the narrow paths. This is all just a few hundred meters away from the glamorous tower blocks, and I wonder how the people here view the rapid development a stone's throw away. The truth is, though, they have no say in the matter. Again and again, whole districts are simply torn down. Illegal settlements get 3 months' notice, then they're cleared out. In one of these settlements, I meet Olivier. He's 23, unemployed, and in a few weeks his house will be demolished. He doesn't know how he'll pay for the move, but he's staying optimistic.
Me, I like to move here, to get out this side, to get at the other side, in which can I live in good life.
I want to find out if this life in the new districts is really as good as the government says it is. So I go to the part of town known as Batsinda, where some people are already living. It takes me a quarter of an hour to get from the city centre to the suburb. At times, Kigali seems somewhat sterile. I arrive in Batsinda, where many people from the city centre have been relocated. I almost feel as though I'm in a village out in the country. For the people who were forcibly resettled, this is how their new homes look. A series of neat, modern houses bought and paid for by the government in return for giving up their valuable land in central Kigali. Faustin K. Rariga had to leave the city centre along with his wife and 3 children. His old house was demolished, but he says the new one's better for his family.
Toilet.
It has a toilet, shower and kitchen, all things his old house was lacking.
Chikon. Douche.
But he had to give up his old business in the centre, and now he's unemployed. But that doesn't bother him. As far as I'm concerned, everything worked out well, he says. The only problem was the short notice we had before moving to a new place that we didn't know. But since we've been living here, everything's been going well. I ask whether people here are angry that they had to make room for the modern buildings in the centre. He says our old quarter was nearer the city and it was easy to get to the centre. Travel costs from here are more expensive, but not too expensive, because we have access to buses. The costs aren't a problem for people with jobs in the city, and they get to work on time too. For people here, it seems the better living conditions are more important than a central location. As someone who's never had to live in a house without a toilet, that's difficult for me to comprehend. Perhaps that explains why there's been so little resistance to the forced resettlement from those affected. I just find the new residential areas a little impersonal. That evening, I head to Kigali's Muslim district. It feels like I'm in the original city once more. No one here is worried about their houses being demolished. Not yet. In Kigali, I can see many developments that are both positive and important for Africa. But here in Nyamirambo, I'm confronted by something I haven't seen anywhere else in the city: street kids. They've been driven out of other areas. In the glossy images of the modern capital, they don't fit in. It's a reminder that there's more to such a massive redevelopment project than mere plans, that people too are affected.